The big here and now item for us to talk about on the COVID-19 front is that an FDA advisory committee will review Johnson & Johnson's emergency use authorization submission for their COVID-19 vaccine this week. The FDA just released, it is hot off the press, released a briefing document for the committee this morning. And I don't know if you've had time to take a look at it, Brian, but have you looked at the document yet?
I went over some of the 60-something pages.
Try
to grab the highlights.
I didn't expect either one of us to have read it in detail yet, because it did come out just this morning. So, Brian, what are your main takeaways from this FDA briefing document?
Yeah, they said they had some. The FDA said it had favorable safety profile. They said no specific safety concerns identified that would preclude the issuance of an emergency use authorization. 66% efficacy, which was higher than the threshold needed for emergency use authorization, which is 50%. No COVID-19 cases requiring medical intervention after 28 days after the vaccination in the people who got the vaccine. But I think there was about maybe 18 or so in the group that got COVID, that got the placebo. They did an analysis of the South African variant and saw that there was 81. It had 81.7% protection for severe or critical COVID-19 and 64% for moderate COVID-19.
Yeah, I didn't personally see, and again, I just kind of skimmed through the document looking for the highlights. I didn't see anything particularly surprising. Did you?
No, there was the over 75. It looked like they weren't quite sure whether it was protecting against people that were over 75. And so that might be a concern, although probably most of those people are going to be vaccinated by the time Johnson & Johnson's vaccine is out in full force. So maybe that's not necessarily that big of an issue.
All right. So I said we would try to do a prediction. Let's do a prediction, Brian. What is your prediction for the FDA advisory committee vote this week?
Unanimous that it gets emergency use authorization. I'll even pick the number, because I would be surprised if anybody is going to vote against the data. It's not great, but it's definitely good enough.
Yeah.
Good. It's beyond good enough. So
I think you're probably right. I think it will likely be unanimous. If there are any dissenting votes, it's going to be probably one, and maybe on philosophical grounds. I think if you looked at the previous votes, Pfizer and Moderna have both won EUA for their vaccines, and it wasn't unanimous because I think one person maybe just thought there was a better way than going the EUA route. But
I think the Pfizer one had a couple of people, and I think when we talked to them afterwards, it was because they were worried about the age. So there was a big debate on the Pfizer advisory committee meeting about whether to set the age at 16 or 18, and the FDA wanted 16, and then there were a couple of people who said they didn't think there was enough data on the 16 and 17-year-olds to set it at 16. So that's why they voted against it.
So you think it'll be unanimous from the committee? What about the FDA's decision, which will probably come by this weekend?
Yeah, I think it probably has approval. What's sort of most interesting to me is not whether it gets approved or not, because I think or authorized, because it's definitely going to get authorized. The question is, what time do we have? So the other two committee meetings were on Thursdays, and so then that gave the FDA on Friday to authorize it. So they're going to work through the weekend, and we'll get an authorization on Saturday, and we'll be all writing articles on Saturday, or are they going to wait until Monday?
And really, do you think the FDA has probably already made up its mind on this?
Yeah, I think the FDA has probably made up its mind 90% of the time for 90% of drugs. It's probably made up its mind by the time that it writes the FDA briefing documents for the committee meeting. So that those briefing documents tend to be your best indicator of whether something's going to get approved or not. Even if the FDA, if those briefing documents are negative and the FDA advisory committee meeting is positive, it's still more likely that a drug is going to get rejected than if the FDA advisory committee is, if the FDA documents are positive and the committee is a little bit more negative, that's actually more likely to get positive recommendation. So I think that those FDA briefing documents are really important to investors.